to read, haven't I?
Yeah.
And how easy is it for me to read with you in here? Do you want to show? Should we show? Yeah. Very easy to read with this on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really complements A Still Life by Josie George. And that is a small illustration of what it's like to try and be a booktuber and have a child. This is why I don't read 80 books a year. This is why I scraped 60, I think it was, last year. Like, he genuinely thinks that I'll be able to read with this on. I'm like, oh, I'm reading in bed. I've snuck away. And then he's like, I'll just come and sit next to you. Yeah, great. Hi, I'm Charlotte and this is Bookish Mama Blooms. I came out to the polytunnel because I thought I have got jobs to do and why don't I film a vlog about my reading week at the same time? So I did, but I stood up and that was completely out of shot. But I did pull all of these beetroot. So that's a terrible shame that you've missed that. This is what I'm left with. Sorry about this. We have got rogue tomato plants. I don't know if you can hear Jack, but he's rolling around on the lawn. We've got rogue tomato plants as far as the eye can see. So I'm going to keep them in here and I'm going to put some stakes, bamboo, canes, that's the word, in to prop them up. And I am just sort of, I'm going with the flow a little bit with this. I'm not a fantastic gardener. I can't claim to be a fantastic gardener. I tend to just sort of do the bare minimum. I'm not going to lie to you. The fact that all these beetroots grew amongst so many weeds is fairly astonishing. So yeah, I've lost the whole thing of what I was saying in my little speech that I just did earlier. But essentially, I've read a couple of books which, oh, first of all, I should tell you about the Sanitorium. So I'll put a picture up. I can't remember the author. I think I got about a quarter of the way through that, and then I put on Instagram, should I bother, because this book so far is not doing it for me, and I kind of got a resounding no. So I don't like to read genre fiction at the best of times, but when I read it and I'm not enjoying it, I feel like that is such an easy route to just doing a holier than thou review about how awful it was. And it's like, that's not really fair, because genre fiction is doing its thing, and if it's not your thing, then you probably shouldn't, you know, just hate read. So I did kind of think, oh, this will be great, I want something that's a bit lighter. I've had such a bad reading, like, I don't know, quarter. I've had like 3 months of really on-off reading. But I could feel a hate review coming on, and I hate them, so I didn't want to do that. So I've stopped. Yay, DNF. I haven't had many DNFs this year, so that was quite weird. Oh, is that a strawberry? What is that? No. So then I picked up After the Storm by Emma Jane Unsworth, whose fiction book Adults I read earlier this year. I really loved it. So this is a factual account of her experience of postnatal depression. And as somebody who was in a very similar boat, I didn't get diagnosed with postnatal depression because I just didn't go to the doctors about it. And she was in a very similar situation where she was sort of livid at the suggestion that it could be that. And we both had very similar reasonings, which was, you know, we were responding to circumstances. This wasn't some sort of hormonal, inexplicable reaction to motherhood. This was, I haven't slept in 3 months. I have an hour's sleep before I'm woken up, like literally hourly. At the most I had 3 hours sleep in a row. I think she says 4 hours sleep in a row. My body has been completely taken over by this human. I'm on my own. Feminism has not saved me. I've lost my identity. Like, why wouldn't you be depressed? So I think both of us railed against this accusation that that's what it was. But that is what it is. And I kind of wish I'd had the guts that she has, which in the end she does go and get diagnosed. Yeah, the book is a real, if you've been through it, you will just, I think you'll really appreciate the candour, as well as the sensitivity with which she deals with the subject. You know, it is going to make you get upset. I did cry reading it, but if you're at the right place to sort of talk about what you've gone through, or if you want an insight, I would really recommend it. If you have friends or loved ones or family members who are going through motherhood and are having a difficult time, even all these years later, 5.5 years, that impact of those early months, I still feel them, and my mental health has never recovered basically from having my child. So the more people that can read about it, the better, who aren't necessarily going through that experience themselves, but whose partner or friend or whatever is. So definitely recommend. Another one that I then picked up was totally different. This was The Appeal. I can't remember who wrote The Appeal, and yeah, I want, you know, let's be honest, postnatal depression is not the sort of thing you read when you're in a slump, subject you read about rather. So I did want something light. I wanted something that could do what the Sanitorium couldn't. So I picked up The Appeal, which I'd seen have great reviews, and it did do exactly what I expected it to do. My only kind of problem with it is that it very unfortunately had a side angle, a subplot, if you will, of Africa is mysterious and kind of magical and dark and full of horrible, awful happenings, and on the other side of it is this little village called Lockwood, which I presumed was somewhere in the Cotswolds, but I'm not sure if it's made specific, but I felt like it was kind of Midsummer Murders territory, maybe Kent, somewhere like that. There are people who come into this little small community who take part in this village play, you know, the Amdram Society, and they are outsiders coming in, and they used to be volunteers for an aid agency that worked in Central Africa, and they've gone through stuff, and it's made them a bit crazy, and it's just every stereotype that you can think of about white people going into Africa to try and help and coming out damaged, and not a black person in sight as far as I could tell with the book, but Africa referred to constantly as like this driving force behind all the happenings. And when I really stopped and thought about it, she could have done anything with that. It didn't have to be Africa, in my humble opinion. So I just felt like it was feeding into this really reductive, lazy stereotype of what most people, white people, have in their heads when they think of Africa. But it was so subtle that actually I think a lot of readers wouldn't notice, and I'm not saying that to brag about how I noticed, but I'm just saying that this is how, you know, insidious it all is, that you can have these things that just seem totally harmless but are all feeding into this greater idea of what this place or people are like, and everybody has to be responsible for what they put into that. So I didn't appreciate that. I didn't like it, and a warning to anyone who reads it that is the situation. But plotty wise, I could not fault it. So it depends what you want to do with that information. If I'd known that it was going to do that, I probably wouldn't have read it. But did I enjoy the rest of the plot? 100% yes. So, you know, it's one of those things that maybe now, you know, in hindsight you'll give it a miss, or maybe you'll just go, okay, that's something I'll consider. So there you go. I think I'm going to read Betty next. I went into Waterstones and, sorry, my chard is bolting. I went into Waterstones and, oh God, I've just realised I haven't planted my mother's, oh, there it is. I haven't planted her broccoli. She's going to be livid. Better do that before the day is out. Anyway, I went into Waterstones and I saw this gorgeous paperback and I thought, oh wow, that looks so interesting. And look at the cover. Oh wow, you know, Native American, right up my street. And then I was like, oh, I already have this. I have it in hardback. So very typical of me that I have not had a chance to read the hardback. The paperback is already out, and you know, had to have it in hardback. Absolutely had to. And not only that, but I don't actually recognise it until way, way too late. I didn't buy it in the paperback, you'll be pleased to hear, but still, there's no excuse. So I think that has prompted me to realise I do need to read Betty now, to make up for the fact I've spent so much money on it when I could have just bought the paperback. At least I'm supporting Native American writers, is my way of thinking of it. So there you go. There are a lot of weeds in here, and even though I have said that weeds, I don't think they're such a bad thing, I think we need a bit of a clear out. So I'm going to turn the camera off and do a bit of a clean up in here, and let me know if you've read Betty. I would like to know what you thought. Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Bye. So if you want like a sum up of what it's like to have a child that like wants everything, which I suppose is all children, but Idris is adept at getting what he wants. So we were in Sainsbury's yesterday and he saw a Krispy Kreme donut with the Xbox image on it, and there's a competition on the pack to win an Xbox. And it's a pack of 12. So that cost, I think, $12.99 for this pack of donuts. And we, you know, I'm not saying we're super healthy eaters, but we wouldn't usually get through 12 donuts. And I gave in ridiculously quickly. This is what happens when you have weeks of somebody grinding you down. You just say yes almost instantly, because we were in a public space, so I kind of foresaw what a no would bring. Anyway, I've checked the pack and we have not won an Xbox. And then this is what Idris was given his donut this morning. And this is how much he's eaten of it. We go, look. That bit. He licked it and was like, I don't like it. So $12.99 for that. Oh God, I haven't brushed my hair. I don't brush my hair. Don't know why I said that. I haven't tamed the hair. So yeah, $12.99 for a lick of a green icing donut. Also having just quickly watched back those videos to make sure I'm in shot. Oh God, and make sure there's not so much stuff in my house that looks gross. It's very shiny here. I've put a little bit too much highlighter there today. I just thought I'd explain. It's not sweat. I'm not that upset about the donut that I've literally come out in a sweat. It's just my obsession with anything to do with like bronzer and highlighting. It's strong. There they are, look, Krispy Kremes, but this isn't about that. I painted my kitchen grey last week. True story. Mostly because I thought it would match the mould that seems to grow in here, so I would sort of have less hassle with mould if I just went grey. And there's no other part of the kitchen I can show you because I haven't finished, and also my kitchen just is messy. These are my latest orchids. Aren't they pretty? I've had this one. Which one is it coming out of? Yeah, I've had this one since I turned 30 because Stephen bought it for me. So I've had it for 8 years. And then this one hasn't done anything this year. It needs a bit of a dust actually. Ah, there we go. Felt a bit weird leaving you just on the orchid. So I'm just here to say an official goodbye. And I will see you in a vlog soon.